Hi everyone. In the last video, I discussed about the importance of replacing Docker Compose with a real Kubernetes cluster for your local development. So it makes sense when if you are using Kubernetes in production, it makes a lot of sense to use Kubernetes in your local development environment, which could be a laptop, right? So today I'm going to show you a practical demo on how you can set up such an environment in your laptop, and we would be using different tools such as Docker, kind is a local Kubernetes cluster that you can set up in your laptop, and then we will be using Skaffold and different tools, and we would be using kubectl to talk to the Kubernetes cluster that you have locally. So with this for software, how you can set up your laptop, it could be your laptop. Today we are going to do everything in a laptop because most developers want to use laptop for the local development, right? So that's what we'll talk about today. So before we start, now if you have not watched the video about the importance of local Kubernetes cluster, please watch that video, pause the video here, watch that video and come back here, and the link to that video is here given on the top. You can go through that link and then watch it and come back. So before we start, there are certain things that I already did on my laptop. I have installed certain software in my laptop that include Docker Desktop is installed on my laptop. I installed kubectl. Then I have also installed Skaffold. Skaffold is a tool to automate the local workflow. And then I have also installed Kind is a local Kubernetes cluster that run inside Docker within your laptop. So I have installed all this for software in my laptop, and then you want to do the same, I would be providing the installation link into this video. You can go through it and then install them. The installation not straightforward and stuff. So provided that I'm going to set up a local environment for my development. The first thing that I want to do is I want to create a local Kubernetes cluster. Assume I am a developer and I want to do some development on my laptop, and whatever development that I do, when I make a code change, I want this code to run inside the Kubernetes cluster, and then I should be able to see the preview of the application what I am developing. So that's what I want. So first of all, I need a local Kubernetes cluster to be installed on my laptop, and I'm going to use Kind to create a Kubernetes cluster on my laptop. So in order to do that, first you should have Docker running on your laptop, and with that I'm going to execute the docker pull command to download the Kind Docker image. And once this Kind image become ready, I can execute the command Kind create cluster -- image, and then I can mention the Kind image that I have just pulled from hub.docker.com. So go ahead and run this command. This command would actually create a local Kubernetes cluster in my laptop. And remember, Kind is a cluster that run inside Docker containers. What that means is, first you should have Docker running on your laptop before you execute this command to create the cluster. So go ahead and run this command, and this will take some time for the cluster to get created. And okay, I'm going to run this command to create a Kind cluster on my laptop. So it will take some time for a cluster to get created on your laptop. So I wait, and as we wait, please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not already subscribed. I would be posting a lot of videos like this onto the YouTube, which you can practice. So we wait for the cluster to get created in my local. Alright, so it is done. We got our Kind cluster created on my laptop, and now I can start working on this Kind cluster just like I work on any clusters. I can talk to the cluster using kubectl command as soon as the cluster become ready. So now I got a local Kubernetes cluster running on my laptop, and from now every time I do any development on my laptop, I make any code change on my laptop, I want this code to be continuously get deployed into this local Kubernetes cluster, and I want to preview it in real time as I do the coding, right? So let's see that. Now let me demonstrate the project that I am currently working on. So This is a Go based project, a very simple project, and it is a microservice based project consisting of two microservices. One is a front end microservice. It basically prints me a text on my browser, and then there is a backend application. It's called Leroy app, and it consists of the message which I want to be printed on the browser. So the two applications are Leroy web, which is the browser based application that would print me a message, and the message it would pull from another application that I run in the backend called Leroy app. And then all these applications are already containerized, and if you open this folder, you can actually find a Docker file in both the folders that consists of necessary instructions to build these individual application into a container image. And they also consist of a Kubernetes folder, and it consists of all the necessary manifest that I can use to deploy my application to a local Kubernetes cluster, any Kubernetes cluster. These are nothing but normal Kubernetes manifest that consists of a service and a deployment. So this is what I currently have in my laptop. I have a microservice based application which consists of two microservices, and then I want to develop this container images of these microservices. I want to use a base image, and the base image instructions are located on a different folder. I do have a base folder which consists of a Docker file, and inside this file I have written the instructions to create that base image. And then my other two container images, the other two microservices, Leroy app and Leroy web, I need a base image which I would use this Docker file to build, right? That's what I currently have, and I can show you the Docker file of one of my microservice. For example, open the Leroy app folder, take a look at the Docker file, and I am just starting from the base image, whatever I built from this base folder, right? So that is my current idea. So what I really want, I want to set up a workflow on my laptop. Every time I make any code modification in any one of these microservices, I want somebody to take my code from my laptop, create the container images, deploy those container images into this kind cluster that I have just created earlier. That is exactly what I want. So I want a local workflow, and that should be automated, right? As I do the coding in my laptop, I want my code to be taken and put inside a Kubernetes cluster. I need somebody who can automate the whole process of taking my code, creating the containers, running them inside a local Kubernetes cluster, and I have the right tool, that is Skaffold. And I'm going to use Skaffold. Skaffold is a software that I have already installed on my laptop, and I will show you how beautiful it is, right? I mean, this is a folder, and I'm going to share this project on a GitHub, so don't worry about this project. This project would be shared in the comment. You can clone the project by yourself. This is an example project directly from the Skaffold website. So this project is currently located in my laptop, and now I will talk about Skaffold a bit later, but I want to show you what Skaffold does, which makes my work much easier. Let's see that. Okay guys, take a look at this command line. This is my laptop's command line, and I am in the folder where my project is located. This is the source code. This is the plain text code where I am currently working. I have the Leroy app folder, Leroy web folder, and most of the time I would be either using VS Code, or I can directly edit them from a command line. But for now, what I want to do is, I am inside my project folder in my laptop, and I am going to execute a command called scaffold dev, and I would tell you what I want. This scaffold dev command should take the code from my current folder, detect all the microservices what I currently have, the two microservices, build those both microservices into a container image, then run those container images into the kind cluster that I have just created in my laptop. That's what I want this command to do. And let's just run this command from the project folder, and let's see what happens. So you can see it's doing its job. Alright, now you take a look. As I executed the scaffold dev command from my project folder, Skaffold automatically detected that there are few projects, right? There is a web project and there is a app project. These are the two microservices which I have locally, and these are the images, Docker images that Skaffold want to build, and also it want to build a base image that is located in the base folder. So it detected all the three projects which I currently have in my laptop, and then it is building those container images. But in my particular case, I already built them once, and because of that, it is taking those container images from the cache, and then finally, these are the images that Skaffold is using from the cache. But if it is not found in the cache, Skaffold would have built them using Docker on my laptop. It would create these container images, and then it is now running those container images to my Kubernetes cluster, deploying them into the Kubernetes cluster. The latest code is now being deployed into Kubernetes cluster, and then I can actually see these applications that got deployed into the Kubernetes cluster is now port forwarded on my laptop. So from my laptop, I can just connect to this particular URL. This is a browser-based application, the Leroy Web, which is currently running in the Kubernetes cluster, and I can open it using this particular URL. Then I would be able to see my application preview. And if I want to see my backend application, this is the URL that I can use. I can use Postman or something to talk to that application, do some testing, right? Basically, the developer get a URL using which he can start testing his application. So let's go ahead and browse this particular URL from my laptop, and I should see the application. So let's see if it is working. Okay guys, now go ahead and take a look. I am browsing this URL on my browser, and I can actually see the application. Of course, it's a very simple application. It consists of a very basic application, and it is now visible on my browser. So I can see a preview of my application that is running inside the Kubernetes cluster. And believe me, this is not the best part. I'm going to make some change to the code now. I'm a developer and I want to make some code changes on this application, and then let's see how Skaffold react to that. Okay guys, as you can see, this is my VS Code. I'm going to make some code change. So basically on my browser currently it is printing a message, and that message is stored in the backend, and my front-end application is connecting to the backend application and fetching that message. So I want to make some change to that. I go to this file, the code. I'm going to make some code modification. So instead of Leroy app, I want my browser to display DevOps roadmap. So I'm going to make this change. I'm going to change this to DevOps roadmap, and then I'm going to save this file. So basically that's what your developers do, right? They keep on making the code changes on local, and when they save this file, something will happen, something that Skaffold will do every time you make a change on your code and save it. Let's see what is that. Okay guys, so you can see when I modified the file, modified the code in my laptop, Skaffold detected that. Basically Skaffold is watching my file system and any change that I did to that particular folder, and Skaffold understood that, alright, so Leroy app have been modified. Somebody made a change to that, so it's time to build another container image from the latest version of your code, and that is what it is currently happening. Now my container image is being rebuilt. Skaffold is rebuilding the container image with my latest code, and then that latest container image will now go into my local Kubernetes cluster, and instantly or within a minute maybe I would get a response from the Kubernetes, from the Skaffold, saying that, hey, your application is now deployed onto Kubernetes cluster. You can go ahead and browse this URL to see the changes what you have made. Okay guys, so as you have expected, the image Skaffold finished building my container image, and then the latest container image have been loaded into my Kubernetes cluster, and now I can preview the latest application by browsing this particular URL. So that's what I'm going to do. I will go ahead and browse this particular URL and see the changes what I have made to my code. So I'm going to refresh my page now, and you would notice that the change is, I can now preview the changes what I made to the code. Of course, it is a very simple application that I use to demonstrate, but basically what is most important part here is that a real production workflow is being replicated onto a developer laptop. As a developer, you make the code change, right? You want to make a lot of code change. That's what you do day by day. You want to fix a bug, and you want to check that issue, and you might notice some more issue to be fixed. You again fix them, and that's what you do. You just make the code changes all the time. You want to add a feature, you want to fix a bug. You keep on making a lot of code changes, and every time you make a code change, you really want something to happen, right? You really want something to happen. That would be your code run on a Kubernetes cluster, and you get to see a preview of that. So the best part here is that you are following the exact production workflow on your laptop. Basically, you are using the real Kubernetes manifest. Skaffold internally, it is using the real Kubernetes manifest to deploy your local Kubernetes cluster. It is using the real Docker file to build your container images. Basically, whatever you use in production is exactly what you use on your developer laptop. And in addition to that, you get to use a lot of benefits that Kubernetes already offers you. That would include the volume management in Kubernetes, secret management, config management, then incoming traffic management, a lot of things that Kubernetes support. You actually get a real local environment in your laptop. So everything that you typically want to test on production may be tested by the developer at the time of developing the application, and that is perfect, right? And so this is what I wanted to communicate on this video, and I will quickly show you the Skaffold technical part of it. I mean, you ask Skaffold to do this, right? Take the code, build container images, deploy them to local Kubernetes cluster, and then how do you do that? Basically, what you do is inside your project you create a skaffold.yaml file, and that's exactly what I'm going to demonstrate you next. So let's go ahead and take a look. What I have here on my project, right? In my project base folder, I have created a file with the name skaffold.yaml. And inside that skaffold.yaml file, I have defined my project. This is my first project, right? Lejoy Web, which is a web-based project, and it is located inside this particular folder within my base folder. And then basically, in order to build this container image, I first of all want the base image to be ready, and then I am telling the base image need to be built first before building this Lejoy Web container image. So basically, these are the build instructions which I am passing to Skaffold. I am asking Skaffold, hey, take this folder Lejoy app and build that into a container image with name Lejoy app, and then similarly take this folder Lejoy web and build that into a container image. And both of this application need a base image which you can locate, which you can build yourself by building the base image first, right? So it's as simple as that, and the base image definition is also there. So Skaffold need to build 3 container image. One is the base image, other one is the Leroy app and Leroy web, 2 microservices that I have. Then after Skaffold finished building, Skaffold now want to deploy this application into the Kubernetes cluster. And in order to deploy the application into Kubernetes cluster, you need the Kubernetes manifest. So you tell Skaffold, hey, Kubernetes manifest of the Leroy web application are located in this particular folder, and the Kubernetes manifest of Leroy app applications are located in this particular folder. So basically, Skaffold, this is how you tell Skaffold, I already defined my service.yaml and deployment.yaml, and you can find them in these folders. Just Skaffold takes them and use them to deploy your application to your local Kubernetes cluster. So basically, you are using the same settings as in production, right? In production, you are using Kubernetes manifest. Here also, you are doing the same thing. Skaffold just automate the workflow that you give it to it. You tell it where is your Docker file and where is your Docker context and how to build the applications, and then what are the Kubernetes manifest to use to deploy them to Kubernetes. Basically, you just tell Skaffold how to do it, and Skaffold automate this workflow, and it also watches any code change that you make, and then automatically take the code change from your laptop and put them inside your local Kubernetes cluster, and then also port forward these applications to your laptop on a local port 9000 that you can actually browse for the preview. You can either browse, or if it is a API based application, you can just try to use Postman or something to do the testing or whatever. Basically, at the end, what your developer need is a locally testable URL, and Skaffold give it to them. So developer make a code change, and within few minutes, developer get a URL which they can test on their laptop. Everything happens within their laptop. So that is why Skaffold, there are many other tools like Skaffold. Maybe if you want to learn about more of them, you can put them in the comments. You can use Tilt, DevSpace, Octato. There are various tools available that allows you to automate your local workflow, and Skaffold is capable to do many other things also. You can also talk to a Kubernetes cluster in the cloud, just like today we demonstrated a cluster locally, and then similarly it can also talk to a cluster that sits in the cloud and deploy your applications there in the cloud, and many other things also that Skaffold is capable to do. So this is a proper well environment that your developer must have in their laptop. And developer don't have much difficulties doing that, right? I mean, they just need to install all the software, and with a single command Skaffold dev, they initialize this workflow on their laptop, and from now any code change that they do, within minutes they get to see the preview. So this is what you need on a local development. So and also I remind you, if you have not watched the previous video, the importance of a local Kubernetes environment, please go ahead and watch it. The link is given here, and please also subscribe to this channel. I would be coming up with more videos like this, and like this video, support it. If you like the video, please support it by clicking the like button for this video, and see you next week, right? Most probably next week with a new video, and see you then. Bye bye.